What is a system apocalypse? A newcomer's guide to the subgenre. A reader's on-ramp for the integration era. It's an ordinary Tuesday until a box of blue text appears in the air in front of every human being on Earth at the same instant. The message is short. It welcomes you to a system. It tells you the rules have changed, that the things now climbing out of the cracks in the world are going to try to kill you, and that you have been assigned a level. Your level is 1. That's the opening move of a whole subgenre, and after your first one you start seeing it everywhere. If you searched, "What is a system apocalypse?" this is the orientation. No prior reading required. By the end you'll know what the subgenre is, why it's one of the most addictive corners of lit RPG, and where to start. Start with the one idea the subgenre runs on. A system apocalypse is what happens when a game system switches on in the real world, and the real world is not ready for it. Usually it's modern Earth. One day there are no stats, no monsters, no levels. The next day there are all three, forced onto everyone at once by something none of us asked for and nobody can refuse. Civilization had laws. Now it has mechanics. The two don't fit together, and the gap between them is where most of the dying happens. The name comes from Tao Wang's The System Apocalypse, the series that planted the flag and gave the subgenre its label. 12 books in, it's still the reference point, and a large share of what came after traces back to it one way or another. Next, the beats you'll keep seeing. Read a couple of these and the furniture starts to feel familiar. Here's the standard set. First, the arrival. The system announces itself, usually in the same flat tone for everyone on the planet at once. Welcome. Here are your rules. Often there's a countdown, or a grace period, or a tutorial that turns out to be lethal. Something vast has decided your fate and is delivering the news like a terms of service update. Then, level up or die. The engine of the whole thing. Getting stronger stops being a hobby and becomes the only reason you see next week. Ordinary people who never wanted to fight anything find out that leveling is the one thing standing between them and the creature in the stairwell. Then, monsters, dungeons, and a world coming apart. The system rarely arrives alone. It brings incursions, rifts, dungeons that open where the parking garage used to be, and things that follow rules the old world never had. Geography stops being reliable. The map you trusted is now a hazard. Then the scramble for a class. Early choices matter, and you make them blind. Pick a class, slot a skill, spend a point, all under pressure, all permanent, all before you understand the game you're in. A lot of the early tension is buyer's remorse with consequences. And finally, the system's flat voice. Like all lit RPG, the world talks to you in system text, and in an apocalypse the deadpan goes sinister. You have survived day 1. 4.1 billion participants remain. The horror lives in the punctuation. So why does it hit so hard? The appeal is older than the subgenre. Put an ordinary person in front of the end of the world, then hand them a way to fight back they can actually see. A system apocalypse takes the most powerless feeling there is, watching the world turn lethal overnight, and gives it a progress bar. You start at level 1 alongside everyone else, working from the same blue box the whole planet woke up to, with no chosen one bloodline to fall back on. Whatever you climbed to from there, you climbed it yourself, while the sirens were going. That mix of total vulnerability and a visible path up is hard to put down. There's a second pull. This is the rare kind of story where the rules of the world are printed on the page at the exact moment those rules start trying to kill you. You watch people read the manual in real time, under fire, getting it wrong and paying for it. Competence becomes the most gripping thing in the book. Now, how it sits next to its neighbors. A few nearby terms blur together when you're new, so here's the quick map. System apocalypse in Isekai. In Isekai, a character gets pulled out of our world into a game-like one. In a system apocalypse, you stay home and the game comes to you. Same collision of person and system, pointed the opposite way. System apocalypse and the dungeon crawl. Lots of overlap and plenty of books or both. The difference is scope. A dungeon crawl can happen in a sealed space with the outside world still intact, while an apocalypse means the outside world went down too. System apocalypse and plain lit RPG. Every system apocalypse is a lit RPG, though most lit RPG is calmer than this. The apocalypse is the flavor where the system shows up as a catastrophe you have to survive, rather than a setting you were born into. If you want the whole family tree, the genre overview on this site lays it out. So, where to start? 3 doors in, depending on the mood you're after. Start with Tao Wang's The System Apocalypse for the foundational version, the series that named the thing. Try Dungeon Crawler Carl if you want the apocalypse run as savage comedy that turns out to be one of the most emotional reads in the genre. Earth gets demolished into a planet-sized dungeon. It goes about how you'd expect, and then much worse. Pick up Defiance of the Fall or The Primal Hunter if you want Earth swallowed by a system and a long escalating climb toward the cosmic end of the scale. Any of them will show you the shape of the thing. Which brings me to the series this blog is attached to, and a different question. What does the apocalypse look like a century later? Most system apocalypse stories are about the first week. The arrival, the collapse, the scramble, the desperate early climb. The integration era opens about 100 years after all of that. The premise: an alien intelligence arrives, switches on without warning, and starts measuring every sentient being in known space. It assigns each of them 6 stats and a designation, a verdict on who they are. Then the dust settles. And it keeps settling for a century, until the thing that ended the world is simply the world. That's the corner I'm writing. The apocalypse as infrastructure, a generation that has never known a day without the overlay, a civilization rebuilt around a system nobody understands, the terror gone quiet and domestic and permanent. The system still measures everyone. It still explains nothing. People just live inside it now, the way you live inside weather. And the catch the whole series turns on, the system's measurements make themselves true. Score high in frame, and it reinforces your bones until they're as dense as the number says. The number comes first. The body catches up. It's lit RPG with progression fantasy bones, written for a reader who wants the system to mean something past the numbers going up. If the part of the system apocalypse you loved was the world cracking open and a person having to become someone new to live through it, the integration era is the long aftermath of that crack, 100 years deep. Start with the free reader's primer. It's a short, no-spoilers orientation to the world and its 6-stat system, plus where to begin reading. Free membership at integrationera.com puts every new post and story in your inbox the day it goes public. No designation required. The Integration Era is a science fiction series about a world remade by an alien system nobody asked for. You've been listening to The Integration Era by Charlie Forrett. All content is copyright 2026 by Charlie Forrett. All rights reserved. Voices produced by Speechify. New stories, world-building deep dives, character dossiers, and more are available now at integrationera.com. Subscribe to get notified when the next post drops. The system is watching. You might as well keep up.